Oh, yes, we are live. Good afternoon, Crystal. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. I am
Whoa,
fine. And you?
what a journey. I am doing great, doing great, doing great. I hope you had a great weekend.
Uh no, busy. And then
Busy.
yesterday all hell broke loose. So in the whole entire country. So it
Oh,
was
yeah,
we got through it. How about that? We got through
got through
it.
it. There you go. I don't know. I think we're still going through it, to be honest with
Yeah, we have to see what it all looks like.
you. Indeed. I had a lovely weekend,
Well,
actually.
good.
Went to the park, uh, went to Santa Monica, went to the Culver City Hotel. It was absolutely lovely. But I'm really jazzed to talk about what we have today. Hopefully, your screen shows uh, Guy Baker. He's a money manager here in town. Hopefully, it shows
Hmm.
his lovely mug. And we're going to talk about some of the things that he and I both did a little bit of research on. Um, and let's see, does that screen move up and down? I'll have to share a screen or something like this. Oh, maybe it's not. It's not moving up and down. So here, let me try it this way. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay. And I think you'll find it is kind of interesting. So the crux of the matter is that many people believe that when one particular president from a particular party is in office, that the country's economy does better, and some
Hmm.
people believe that may be the case, but it doesn't matter. And so the research that we've done suggests that that's actually really not the truth. And we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, okay. That's a good
Hope-
conversation.
Hopefully. Um, looks like the page was moving up and down, and it's not quite moving up and down now. So let's try this. Let's read your bio, and then hopefully my system will have calmed down by then, and then I
Okay.
can get to this article. So
Okie dokie.
okay, everyone, please help me welcome my friend and colleague Crystal Mitchell. She
Hello,
is
everyone.
there. You go. Did I get you in? You're not. Are you in the shot? You're not in the shot. Are you in the
I
shot?
am.
You
Well,
can. Okay, good.
yeah,
Okay.
nothing shared right now. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Woo. This is I guess this is what we call exciting. So here we go. Crystal is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, the co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, another weekly online radio show, an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm pretty excited. We have
Oh,
some
good.
interesting things to talk about. I'll let
Oh,
you talk in a
good.
minute. Um,
No problem.
I get a little excited. I get to talking quite a bit here. Okay, great. All right.
So
So,
tell me, what one party doesn't matter? It's just all about what
you know,
when it comes to
um,
the stock market.
we blame so much on the president, and there is just so much that that person cannot control. They can't control whether the pandemic comes or not. They can't control if there's a war in the Middle East. They can't control if I don't know, there's a flood in the country. They just can't do that. But so many of those things affect our economy and they affect the market. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really tough to judge one president versus another if you stray away from their policies. And then so often those policies don't come to fruition until sometimes after that president is done, and then the next president needs to deal with that situation as it is. So it's a pretty complex thing. But many people think that depending if there is a Democrat in the office or if there's a Republican in office, that we as in the stock market, is going to do
Mm-hmm.
dramatically better. And I'm here to tell you that that just doesn't matter. And we have a few receipts, as they say. So hopefully, I'm going to be able to go and find those receipts.
Okay, let's see
you
what that
know,
looks like.
I think ever since this little Microsoft fixed jobber thing that happened, um, we I've had some issues here, but
Oh,
we're gonna give
I
this.
know. I mean, I actually did not have a problem last week, but I guess because I was I operate more in Google than I do in Microsoft. I really don't operate in Microsoft unless I
Okay.
absolutely have to.
Yeah, you probably found mine then. So, can you see the screen there?
I can.
Okay, so that gentleman is Guy Baker, very knowledgeable person, PhD in financial planning. He's a local money manager, and he works with these folks here at First Trust Deeds, and they do research.
Mm,
Both of them do quite a bit of research. So this
mm-hmm,
article is talking about keep politics out of investing, and what it shows. We can see the first of all the growth of the S&P since 1949. Um, if you had invested $10,000, let's say. So
mm-hmm,
what the chart is telling you is actually down here. So most people think that if Democrats are in office, that the stock market is going to go down, and uh, and Republicans think that it's going to go up. But what people don't realize is that this is a long-term investment, and you want to take advantage of your downturns, and you want to do that by actually buying low, and as you know, selling high, right?
mm-hmm.
There's no better time to buy low when the market is down. So I'm not suggesting that when Democrats are in office that the market goes down, but I am suggesting that uh, buying low and selling high is a very good thing to do. And it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Buy low, sell high.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what the research suggests is that, and I'm just going to read right here, it says, um, let's see, if you only invested when a Republican was president, let's say, so you only put your $10,000 in when a Republican was president, then your $10,000 would have grown to about $83,000 by the end of quarter one in 2024. Not bad.
Mm-mm.
$83,000 if you just put your money in. You took your money out and then you put your money back in when you saw that the Democrat was in office there. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
um,
The Republican.
Republican was in office.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, if you had invested only during Democratic presidencies, so you took your money and you put it in when Democrats were in office, hoping that it would grow from 1949 up until um, 2024 first quarter, you would have amassed about $414,000 versus the $83,000 when Republicans are in office.
Wow, that's a big
Right
difference.
now, some people would say that's good enough for me, but as you know, I'm a real big believer in buying low and selling high. And I'm also a big believer in rebalancing and having a well diversified portfolio and staying the course, except for when your risk tolerance changes, right? So you've heard me say all that kind of stuff before. So, what happens though if we look at your $10,000? If you had just left it alone, check this out. $10,000 would be worth about 3.46 million by the end of 2024 if you just ignored the political factors entirely. Stay invested. You don't pull it out, you just leave it in there as it was. Not bad,
Mm.
right? So it just goes to show you that you can't determine when to pull your money out and when to put your money back in based on the party that's going to be in office. Not bad, huh?
So let me ask. So, the last since 2016, it's been kind of a quite a bit more
Roller
helter
coaster.
skeltered
Yeah.
uh, um, uh, GOP
Mhm.
position.
Mhm.
We thought it was bad when Bush was in, but we had no idea that that could be far worse. And some things took place that actually decreased the amount of money flow, especially from the anyone that wasn't a billionaire or a millionaire. So that would have some effect as well, right? Because the less money you have, um, definitely the more cautious you are, and
Mhm.
you don't have a cash flow. I mean, your every dollar counts
Mhm.
when there's less money circulating. So I would think there's less money circulating just from at least the last 10 years, less money circulating with the Republicans in position where they've been than it is with the Democratic Party. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a pretty interesting question, and I haven't done the research, so I don't want to say um, one way or the other right off the bat. But to your point, when Republicans are in office, there does seem to be a bit more um, reluctance to put money into the economy. But that's not what we saw with this last Republican, Donald J. Trump, right? He he put more money into the economy in the form of debt, if we can call that money, than any other president. And he had that pandemic where he started putting loads of money in the economy. So I think it's tough. I think it's really tough to judge a president's performance by
Mm-hmm.
the stock market. And
Mm.
one of the things that this says, and I'll get back to your issue, what your question was in a minute, but it does say that it seems that when a full party is in control, those aren't the best times. It seems that if you have a Democratic president or and a Republican Congress or something like that, that things are dramatically better. So I like this where it says, in fact, some of the lowest returns come from scenarios where the party has a complete sweep.
Mm.
13.9% for Democrats, 10.7 for Republicans.
Mm.
So also though, um, we have to be careful with how uh, which statistics that you get and what it is that they're trying to prove. So I
Right.
just said, spent a little while saying that the economy is better when the Democrats are in office. That is, you make more money when Democrats are in office in the stock market, and that's
Right.
true. You make more money in the stock market when Democrats tend to be at least at the president level.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that the economy is better. It just means that Wall Street performs better, and
Mm.
we don't know why that's the case, right? But we do know one thing, that you do better overall when you make changes based on what's going on in your life rather than what's going on outside of your life. So, to
Mm.
get back to your question, money in the economy, certainly something that helps the economy grow, depending on how you think about it. But it also could cause inflation. So, you have to be careful about that. And it's not immediately, right? So, I'm going to say that you can do things to affect the economy, and you're not going to feel that effect until much later, perhaps. That's
Mm.
just the way, we have a big ship here called our market and our economy, and it takes a while to turn them. They have what we call momentum.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you know, have you ever heard the definition be about or between or the difference between a depression and a recession? So a recession or a recession is when your neighbor loses his job, but a depression is when you lose your job, right? So your
Yeah.
individual, right?
So individual experience.
Right? So
Right.
that we have to look at that as well. And as you know, we preach on the show here that you can't you just can't time the market. It just doesn't work, right?
Mm.
I guess what do
Yeah.
you think about it?
I think the only time, well, but what was so let's go to 2008 when we had the housing crash. Now that seemed to affect everything, right? It
Yes.
Yeah, that would, I don't think it mattered what it didn't matter who was in office because it was an external the housing market crashed. So
Hmm.
that affects everybody.
Yes, the
Eh,
president
eh,
didn't have anything to do with that.
He didn't have anything to do with, no, he really did not have anything to do with that. External marketplaces, and or as I tell it with my business classes, external challenges or obstacles that can derail your entire business and
Indeed,
existence.
indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, indeed. Or we have to admit, or it could create opportunities, that we didn't know were there.
And it
For
could. It
example,
definitely.
if we hadn't gone through the COVID situation, then so many of us wouldn't know how to figure out to make our home office, to make them more professional so that we could work at home,
Hmm. Hmm.
spend more time with our kids, be more productive, because we don't have to worry about childcare, we don't have to worry about gas, or we don't have to worry about all that other stuff. Um,
You also
Sometimes
learned,
too.
and on that same note, you also learned how much of when you're leaving your home, how much money you actually spend, but how much
Good.
money you can actually save
Hmm.
when you're able to. So that's some of the pushback on remote work is that wow, I can, and you can be much more effective. In most cases, people are much more effective working from home than they were working out because the commute, depending on
Exactly.
how far you're commuting, gas prices. But then there were the downsides to that. Yeah, market. There was so much more. Gas was cheaper because nobody was driving, and so
Right.
therefore they weren't quite happy with that. And I think the aftermath of all the money that was technically lost during that time, they've made up by increasing their prices, but also they also got relief. So, they got double paid there in a lot of cases.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm not doubting you. I'm certainly not.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, you learned a lot more about yourself. And in some cases, some people actually needed to change their business model and were reluctant, and therefore they had no choice but to change their business model. So they're much more successful today than they were in 2020 because they were hanging on to a business model that had served its shelf life, as we say in the business world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactamundo. I couldn't argue any
Hmm.
differently. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
So,
So
any other comments about the party in office as to how they're going to perform with regard to your market?
I think it actually, to be quite honest, I think because we think that the president does far more than he does, but there's a whole lot of other components that go along with that.
Yes.
They can be quite dangerous, but however, um, if you're operating under the constitutional guidelines, then there's not a whole lot of damage that individual can do because he has there's a structure in place, right? I think legislation has more effect on our individual cash flows and so forth than the president itself.
You're probably right. And I would even suggest that in many situations, it's not even the federal laws that we need to worry about. It's the state and local laws that we really have to worry about. Those are the laws that are going to tell us where we can park, how to ship, when we can load the truck, when we can't load the truck. Those are the laws that tell us um, what kind of taxes, at least at the state level, I'm
At the
sorry,
state level.
that we
Hmm.
have to pay. And so there's a lot that goes on in running a business that occurs here at the state level. I have colleagues and clients that are worried about having a retirement plan. Well, they don't know that the retirement plan that you have to have doesn't cost you anything. It's just some time, right?
Right.
I don't think it's the best way to go, but I think the state probably looked at the situation and said we have to do something to get this ball rolling, right? And so they did the best they can, and but they don't have that in Arizona or Tennessee,
Right.
that little time out of the day there. So
No, that's very, very true. And you're absolutely right. I think more happens from the state level, which is really quite important for people to be involved or at least have input onto what's going on because that's really what affects you most.
I think a lot of people believe exactly that. That's what affects you most.
Yeah,
But I'm
that
here to
that
tell you that when it comes to your 401k plan, put your money in, get the right mix of stocks and bonds according to your risk tolerance,
hmm
and diversify. And please take that questionnaire once or twice a year. If you're going to make me happy, twice a year, but nobody really wants to make me happy. Twice a year. And don't worry who's in office, because that's really not such a big deal.
Right, exactly. I just say if I was going to add a piece to that, I am going to add a piece to that. I just say that you need to be engaged. You need to do your research, what is best for you and your family and your retirement, what that looks like. But you have to be engaged. You can't be disconnected from what's going on because we do live in a collective world. And so you do have to be involved and you do have to have say so. You do have much more control over your well being and your wealth. So you just can't stick your head in the sand and assume that somebody else has got it for you because there's so many other moving parts. And as we can see, the world changes so rapidly. What we were doing that was norm a year ago is not norm, or 2 years ago or 3 years ago is not norm today. So we cannot afford, I think, as a society, to be disengaged.
You know what? I could not have said it better than that. You are spot on. We cannot afford to be, and that's a great way to put it. We cannot afford to be disengaged. So whether that means you have someone help you so that you understand what you need to do, or it means that you pick up the ball and carry it yourself, whatever that means, and whatever combination of that there is, because some of us are more, I don't know, we're better at some things than we are at others.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what that is, find out what your level of engagement is, and please don't say she does it or he does it. Find out what your level of engagement is, and and get in.
Yeah,
And do it.
exactly. And do your research, do your study. Don't just listen to whatever they're saying on your social media page or on the news because they don't know your life. They don't know what your needs are. You're listening to some generic advice. Or as myself, I have a colleague, and we always say you got the street corner consultant having conversation with you, and you want the expert,
Yes.
and that expert has credentials to show that they're the expert.
Good point. Typically, they do. I mean, some people get fortunate every now and then, but
Right.
someone that's been through the fire, that's a good thing. All
Yeah.
righty. Well, that
Okay.
concludes our show today. I think the ending phrase there, "get engaged." I think that's great. Thank you for bringing that up. And
Yes.
we will see everybody next week. Will you be here next week?
Yeah, actually, Biz Camp is over on Friday. I can resume my world. So
Oh,
29th is I'm back in business, and so we're back at 1 o'clock because I won't have. I've been engaged from. I'm out of bed at 5:30 in the morning,
ooh.
and I am at in El Segundo by 7:45, and I am there until 2:30, sometimes 3, with the kids, and then I'm racing back home to take care of my other clients, my garden, and me.
Well, don't forget you. You are important. You
Yeah, I know. So Monday, so come Friday, that is done. But I mean, I love it. It's very, I love it because I'm helping young people set the standard for what their future may look like, and
Mm,
then it's also very lucrative. So I'm always this is probably one of the highlights. This 2 months in the summertime is a highlight of my business. It makes what I do quite enjoyable.
great. I like the sound of that. Well, keep
Hmm.
on keeping on, and definitely spend some time taking care of yourself. And I will see you next week.
All
And
righty.
we will see everybody else next week at 1 o'clock.
All right. Sounds fantastic.
Bye bye now.